usually when we think about creating digital content, there is this expectation of it being a really solitary, almost isolating act.
Oh, absolutely. It feels like a one-player game.
Right. It is just you alone in your room staring down the unforgiving lens of a smartphone camera. And you are trying to summon enough energy to, entertain the entire internet.
Which is exhausting. You against the algorithm.
Yeah, totally exhausting. You shoot, you edit, you post, and then you just sort of cross your fingers and shout into the void, hoping someone out there hears you.
And frankly, that void can feel incredibly vast
Mhm.
and very, very quiet, especially if you are trying to build a business or a personal brand from absolute scratch.
Oh, for sure. The crickets are deafening.
Right. I mean, the psychological toll of that isolation is a huge reason why creator burnout is just so rampant right now. People just hit a wall.
Exactly. But then you look at what is actually dominating social media right now, right?
Yep.
The content that is consistently breaking through all that noise.
Yeah.
And suddenly that solitary picture completely shatters.
It really does. The data paints a totally different picture.
It does. We are looking at a digital landscape that has totally rewritten the rules of engagement. It is a fundamental shift from the solo broadcast to the public conversation.
Yes.
And today we are doing a custom-tailored deep dive just for you, the listener. Because we know you are the learner. You want the maximum insight without the fluff and information overload.
We want to get straight to the mechanics of why this has happened.
Right. So we have this strategic guide on the table today, a document called Collaborative Content Creation.docs. And our mission is to uncover why collaborative short-form video is just completely dominating.
And how the algorithms are essentially rigged to favor it.
Yep, rigged is the right word. And we're also going to look at how highly specialized tools, specifically platforms like Weddizer, are revolutionizing the way professionals actually team up.
Because the networking side of this is half the battle.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I want to frame this episode not as a lesson in making, silly dance videos with your friends. This is a masterclass in modern digital networking and hyper cost-effective marketing.
Which is a necessary evolution. Because before we can even talk about creating content, we really have to understand the underlying architecture of the environment we are creating in.
We have to know the rules of the game.
Exactly. We have to ask, why did solo content become so incredibly difficult to scale? And why is collaboration suddenly the undisputed king of organic reach?
I think it really just comes down to audience saturation. I mean, if you are a solo creator, every new follower is an absolute battle.
It is trench warfare.
Yeah. But joint reels and TikToks, they're essentially a cheat code for audience expansion. The source material highlights this phenomenon. They call it the algorithm boost.
Right, the algorithm boost.
Both Instagram and TikTok are actively favoring collaborative content. They are pushing it heavily to explore pages and For You feeds. It offers this crazy cross-audience exposure.
It is massive.
You are tapping into an entirely new parallel audience that is already primed for exactly what you do.
What's fascinating here is that primed aspect. That is the critical mechanic. You aren't just broadcasting to a random sampling of the internet hoping something sticks.
Right, you aren't throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Exactly. You are reaching people who have already explicitly opted into a specific vibe or a specific niche or aesthetic that your collaborator provides.
You're a proven audience.
Yes. The algorithm doesn't have to guess if they might like your content. Your collaborator's audience is already a mathematically proven target demographic for that kind of material.
It makes me think of a musical crossover, or like when a massive guest star shows up on a hit sitcom.
Oh, that is a great analogy.
Right. You are basically getting a buy one, get one free deal on audience attention. If a popular character from one show walks into the living room of another show, the fans of both shows just lose their minds.
They absolutely do. The television network gets double the viewership for the exact same time slot.
Exactly. And in the digital space, when you collaborate, you are doing the exact same thing. You are merging to establish trust networks.
I really like the sitcom analogy, but the digital mechanics, they actually go even deeper than just a simultaneous broadcast.
How so?
Well, we have to look at the ultimate goal of any social media platform's engineering. What do these companies actually want from us?
They want our attention. All of it.
Right. They want to keep users on the app for as long as humanly possible. Watch time is their most valuable currency, because watch time dictates exactly how many ads they can serve.
Which means the algorithm is just ruthlessly pragmatic. It only promotes what keeps people from closing the app.
Precisely. So let's look at how it tests solo content. When a creator posts a regular video, the algorithm doesn't just immediately show it to a million people.
That would be way too risky for them.
Exactly. It runs a microtest. It shows the video to a tiny fraction of that creator's most active followers.
The seed audience.
Yes, the seed audience. If that small group watches it all the way through, and if they engage, the algorithm says, okay, let's expand the pool. It shows it to a slightly larger group. It is a very slow, sequential, linear climb.
And if that initial test group just happens to be, I don't know, offline or just distracted that day,
Yeah.
the video dies in the water before it even had a chance.
It flatlines completely. But when you use a collaborative feature, like a joint post on Instagram where the video is co-authored,
Or it lives on both profiles at the same time.
right, from the exact moment of publishing, when you do that, you are fundamentally altering that initial test phase.
Because it's a bigger pool.
It is much bigger. The algorithm isn't testing one small pool. It is fed a massive, immediate injection of diversified data.
Because it is simultaneously testing two entirely different audience clusters. It is pulling behavioral data from user A's network and user B's network at the exact same time.
And that simultaneous data ingestion is what actually triggers the algorithm's amplification protocol.
Oh, interesting.
It sees likes, it sees watch-throughs, and shares coming in from two distinct behavioral maps. And it registers this rapid, diversified engagement as a really powerful signal.
A signal that the content is universally appealing.
Exactly. High-quality content. The machine logic basically dictates, hey, if people from these two different behavioral clusters are both stopping their scroll for this, it must be highly engaging.
So it bypasses the slow test.
It bypasses the slow, linear climb entirely and rockets the content straight to the Explore page. It becomes an exponential growth curve instead of a linear one.
Wow. Which is why this is such an incredibly cost-effective marketing strategy. The return on investment is just staggering when you compare it to traditional ad spending.
It really is. The organic ROI is unmatched right now.
I mean, think about the friction of trying to reach 10,000 new people who perfectly align with your specific niche. You could spend weeks A/B testing ad copy.
Adjusting demographic sliders over and over.
Yes, and pouring hundreds or thousands of dollars into targeted ads. Or you could just spend 2 hours on a Tuesday afternoon filming a joint piece of content with a peer who already has the trust of those 10,000 people.
It entirely bypasses the friction of cold advertising because an ad inherently interrupts the viewer's experience.
Right. Nobody goes on social media to watch ads.
Their guard immediately goes up the second they perceive that a piece of content is trying to extract something from them, whether that is a click, an email sign-up, or a purchase.
We're trained to ignore it.
But a collaboration doesn't feel extractive. It feels additive. It invites the viewer into a dynamic between two people. So the psychological barrier is entirely removed.
Right, because you aren't being sold to, you're being entertained by a dynamic, which actually brings up a fascinating operational question.
What's that?
Well, knowing that the algorithm mathematically rewards teamwork and knowing that the psychological barrier is lowered, what does this teamwork actually look like on our feeds?
Ah, the formats.
Yeah, because I imagine two people just staring dead-eyed at a camera, reading a script together is going to tank that watch time immediately.
Oh, it absolutely would. It would be a disaster. The format has to feel native to the platform.
So what works?
The data in the source document points to a few highly specific formats that consistently manipulate these algorithmic and psychological levers effectively.
Okay.
The first, and arguably the most common one we see, is the duet, or the split screen format.
Oh, we see this constantly. It is ideal for reactions, right? Comparisons or real-time commentary.
Yes.
One person is demonstrating something, maybe a crazy cooking technique or telling an unbelievable story, and the other person is just on the other half of the screen just reacting to it.
The underlying psychology of why that works is really fascinating. It relies heavily on social proof and mirror neurons.
Mirror neurons.
Yeah.
In the physical world, when we listen to someone tell a story to a group of people, we don't just stare unblinkingly at the storyteller.
Right, that would be weird.
We constantly glance around at the other people in the room to gauge their reactions.
Oh, wow. I do that all the time without realizing it.
We all do. If they look shocked, we feel validated in our shock. If they laugh, we feel permission to laugh.
That makes so much sense. So the split screen format basically digitizes that group dynamic.
Exactly. It builds the social proof right into the video file itself. The person reacting acts as an emotional surrogate for the viewer.
So if the collaborator is deeply engaged, The viewer subconsciously feels that they should be engaged too.
Yes, it creates a powerful feedback loop of attention.
That is brilliant. What else works?
Another format that consistently overperforms is behind the scenes, or BTS content.
Oh, yes.
This involves documenting the actual, often messy process of creating content or delivering a service together.
I think this taps into a very modern craving for authenticity. I mean, we're all so inundated with hyper-polished, perfectly color-graded final product.
Each thing looks like a movie now.
Right. So a flawless video actually feels a bit suspicious. It triggers that ad alert in our brains. But getting a peek behind the curtain, seeing the bloopers.
The light stands falling over.
Yes. The light stands falling over, the genuine human frustration or the laughter before the final product goes live. That stuff feels real.
Because the polished product is exactly what you expect from a corporate brand entity. But the behind-the-scenes reality is what you expect from a friend sending you a video.
It changes the relationship.
It does. When two professionals share their unvarnished process, it humanizes them. It systematically dismantles the barrier between the creator and the consumer. It replaces a transactional dynamic with a relational one.
That's a great way to put it. We also see a lot of success with educational or value-based content, right? Two experts taking a niche topic, debating it, or sharing complementary advice.
Yeah, very effective.
That makes total sense because it literally doubles the perceived value for the viewer.
Yeah.
But I have to push back a little on one of the other popular formats mentioned.
Okay, go for it.
We constantly hear that jumping on challenges and trends is the fastest way to skyrocket discoverability.
It is common advice.
But if literally everyone on the entire platform is lip-syncing to the exact same audio trend or doing the exact same 15-second dance, don't you just become background noise? How do you stand out? How does collaboration actually solve the problem of trend fatigue?
It is a very valid critique. Trend fatigue is exactly where solo creators usually hit a massive wall.
They just blend in.
They see a trend, they copy the trend verbatim, and they become just another identical data point in a sea of millions.
Right.
But the strategic advantage of collaboration here relies on a concept the source calls shared creativity.
Shared creativity.
Yes. When two distinct creators combine their unique perspectives on a standard trend, they aren't just copying it, they're actually subverting the viewer's expectation of it.
I'm trying to picture how that subversion actually plays out in reality. Are you saying the trend just acts as a familiar wrapper for a totally new idea?
Yes, exactly that. Think of jumping on a trend alone as trying to start a wave in an empty stadium. It might technically be a wave, but no one cares.
Right.
But doing it collaboratively is like throwing a lit match into a room full of fireworks. The trend provides the structural framework, the familiar audio or visual cue that makes the viewer stop scrolling because they recognize the pattern.
Because the brain loves pattern.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the clash of your two unique brands provides the explosive, unexpected engagement.
Okay, let's say the trend is a specific audio clip about expectations versus reality.
A classic.
Right. A solo creator doing it is just another drop in the bucket. But if you have two distinct creators, say, a hyper-organized high-end pastry chef and a chaotic, busy parent who relies entirely on an air fryer.
That is a great contrast.
And they use that same trending audio to contrast their morning routines in a split screen.
Exactly. The trend provides the hook. But the stark contrast between the two collaborators breaks the monotony. The viewer knows the punchline of the audio, but they don't know how these two very different people are going to interpret it.
They have to watch to see the twist.
Right. That dynamic tension establishes much stronger credibility and entertainment value than a solo creator ever could.
It is the contrast that holds the attention, that clarifies things immensely. But, it also exposes a massive operational hurdle.
What is that?
Well, if the success of these formats relies entirely on dynamic tension, contrast, and audience overlap, then who you share the screen with is the single most important variable.
Absolutely. Make or break.
How do you actually find the right co-creator? Because if you pair that high-end pastry chef with a local auto mechanic, the contrast is definitely there, but the audience overlap is zero.
They have nothing to do with each other.
The viewers are just going to be profoundly confused.
The matchmaking phase is arguably where most collaborative strategies live or die.
I believe it.
If you get the pairing wrong, the most perfectly executed format in the world will not save you. There are strict parameters for successful digital matchmaking, and the first is aligning your niches. Partners must have similar or complementary audiences.
Complementary, not identical. That is a really crucial distinction. You don't necessarily want to collaborate with your direct competitor.
Yeah, usually not.
A great example of this from the source material is within the event industry. A wedding photographer teaming up with a bridal makeup artist or a wedding planner.
Right.
They aren't competing for the exact same slice of the budget, but they are speaking to the exact same customer at the exact same highly emotional point in that customer's life.
It requires adopting an ecosystem mindset.
An ecosystem mindset.
Yes. Instead of asking, how do I reach more brides? You have to ask, who else in my local ecosystem is already holding the attention of the brides I want to reach?
That is a massive shift in perspective.
Yeah.
And once you identify that ecosystem, you have to actually vet the partner.
Yeah.
And this is where I think people make catastrophic errors.
They do.
They get totally blinded by vanity metrics. The rule really has to be engagement over followers.
100%.
A smaller creator with a highly active, dedicated community is exponentially more valuable than a massive account with a dormant audience.
It is the difference between speaking to a small, packed room of people who are leaning in and taking notes versus shouting into an empty stadium that happens to have a million cardboard cutouts in the seats.
I love that visualization. I mean, it is exactly like dating or finding a roommate. You wouldn't commit to someone just because they have a giant empty mansion.
No, that sounds awful.
Which is basically a high follower count with no likes. You need actual chemistry, actual life in the building. In the digital world, that chemistry is the engagement rate.
Yes.
It is the saves, the shares, the actual human dialogue happening down in the comments section.
And from a deeply technical standpoint, there are severe hidden dangers to collaborating with that giant empty mansion.
Good like. Working out.
If you partner with someone who has a massive follower count but abysmal engagement, you might mistakenly think, well, even if only a fraction of their audience sees it, it is still exposure. It can't hurt.
That seems logical.
But algorithmically, it absolutely can and will hurt you.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
How does the algorithm penalize you for their dormant audience? Doesn't it just ignore them?
It doesn't ignore them. It reads their lack of action as a negative data point.
Oh, no.
Remember our discussion on how the algorithm tests a joint post? It pushes the video simultaneously to a sample of your highly engaged audience and a sample of their massive dead audience.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. When it pushes the reel to their massive audience of, say, 500,000 people, and statistically nobody in that test group interacts with it because they are fake followers or bots or just entirely checked out.
Right.
The algorithm calculates a disastrously low interaction rate. It doesn't say, oh, user B just has a bad audience.
It blames the video.
Exactly. It says, wow, we showed this specific piece of content to a massive test group, and they universally rejected it. This video must be incredibly boring or low quality.
Wow.
As a direct result, it actively suppresses the video, literally hiding it from your own engaged audience because the aggregate score was dragged down.
That is terrifying.
Right.
So a bad partner doesn't just fail to elevate you. They can act like a digital anchor, actively dragging your own hard-earned metrics to the bottom of the ocean.
They absolutely can.
It completely reframes the chase for big numbers.
Which is why the underlying foundation of any pairing must be shared goals. The partnership must be mutually beneficial to ensure sustainable growth.
Makes sense.
If one creator is intensely focused on driving immediate e-commerce conversions and the other is just trying to build top-of-funnel brand awareness for a free community event, the calls to action in the video are going to clash.
It gets messy.
The viewer will feel the friction of those competing agendas and they will simply scroll past.
Okay, so the theory is sound. Find a complementary niche, ruthlessly vet for engagement over followers, and align your business goals.
That is the formula.
But theory is easy, right? Execution is messy. How does this actually work in the real world? It is one thing to say, hey, go find a high-engagement makeup artist in your city who shares your target demographic.
It is much harder to do.
It is an entirely different thing to actually locate them, verify their metrics, and propose a joint marketing venture without sending 100 awkward, unsolicited direct messages that just get ignored.
The friction of discovery and outreach is the biggest bottleneck right now. But this is exactly where the industry is seeing a massive technological intervention.
Okay.
Rather than relying on organic serendipitous networking, professionals are turning to specialized platforms designed entirely to engineer these collaborations.
Yes, and here's where it gets really interesting. This is a perfect time to look at a highly specific, real-world application of this matchmaking.
Let's do it.
We are seeing tools actively solving this exact bottleneck. And a prime example making huge waves right now, highlighted in the source, is a platform called Weddizer.
Yes, Weddizer.
It is functioning as a total revolution in how professionals collaborate, specifically within the wedding industry ecosystem we were just talking about.
What makes a platform like Weddizer so analytically fascinating is how it fundamentally reorganizes the networking process.
It streamlines it.
It doesn't just throw professionals into a massive, unsearchable directory. It enables highly targeted, seamless partnerships between those complementary professionals. The planners, the photographers, the florists, the venues.
Think about the UI and the user journey here, because this is where the magic really happens.
Yeah.
How do you actually use it?
Right.
Instead of scrolling blindly through Instagram hashtags at 2 in the morning, trying to find a florist in Chicago whose aesthetic matches yours, Weddizer acts like a hyper-curated B2B matchmaking dashboard.
You can be specific.
Exactly. You can filter specifically for professionals in your exact geographic area, looking at their verified portfolios and understanding their specific market positioning before you ever even say hello.
It creates a closed-loop environment of high-intent users.
That is the key phrase, high intent. If a professional has taken the time to set up a profile on Weddizer, they are explicitly signaling to the market, I am open for business. I understand the value of cross-pollination, and I am actively looking for partners.
It changes the dynamic entirely.
It completely removes the anxiety and the awkwardness of the cold DM. You aren't sliding into a stranger's inbox hoping they might be receptive to a video idea. You are operating in a workspace designed to facilitate exactly this kind of strategic growth.
You are essentially swiping right on a business level.
Exactly. And we really need to unpack why this specific industry, the wedding industry, is the perfect crucible for this kind of platform.
It is a unique market.
If we look at the psychology of the consumer in this space, trust is the ultimate non-negotiable currency.
It is everything.
A couple is trusting these vendors with one of the most expensive, emotionally charged, and highly scrutinized days of their entire lives.
The stakes are incredibly high.
The stakes are monumental, which makes the consumer incredibly risk-averse. The bridezilla stereotype exists for a reason, you know. It is born from the intense anxiety of managing a dozen different moving parts that simply have to work perfectly on a single day.
You get one shot.
Right. You can't just run a flashy 20% off discount ad and expect someone to hire you to coordinate their wedding. They don't want a discount. They want a guarantee. They need to feel profoundly safe.
So let's analyze the mechanics of how trust is actually manufactured and transferred when a planner and a photographer use Weddizer to connect and subsequently publish a joint reel on Instagram.
Okay, let's break that down.
When they appear in a video together, perhaps they are laughing, sharing a behind-the-scenes tip on how they manage a timeline, and just looking like a deeply cohesive team.
Yeah.
They are essentially issuing a highly public, visually undeniable endorsement of one another.
It is an unshakable voucher. The planner is implicitly telling their entire audience, I stake my professional reputation on this photographer. I trust them.
Exactly.
And the photographer is reflecting that exact same sentiment right back.
It rapidly accelerates the building of brand authority. Think about the prospective client scrolling through her feed. She doesn't just see two isolated vendors pitching their individual services.
Oh, she's a team.
She sees a unified front. She sees professionals who already know how to communicate and operate together. That visual evidence instantly lowers her perceived risk.
It is very comforting.
It addresses her deepest anxiety, that her vendors will clash on the big day. That visual collaborative endorsement converts viewers into clients at a rate that isolated solo portfolio posts mathematically cannot touch.
It is a brilliant mechanism because it solves the consumer's pain point before they even articulate it. If I see a makeup artist and a hairstylist doing a split-screen tutorial together,